Hey, how's everybody doing out there? I'm trying something new here. Came out here with my GoPro and my phone, taking a little footage, maybe make a flute video or something. And then, you know, of course, I'm out here taking time to myself, you know, to be with nature and rejuvenate and everything. And I was thinking about our Sunday spiritual talks that we do on YouTube, so I thought, hey, maybe I'll take this as a new and unique opportunity to do a Sunday spiritual talk. And I guess we'll just talk about honoring our sensitivities, and taking time to care for ourselves, So here we are, I'm in Oregon and Portland. I'm just a half hour away out at this place called Estacada Lake. And beautiful, beautiful place, as you can see. Some of it's been hit by a little forest fire. I think you can maybe see that over here. We've got a lot of forest fires over the years. Oh, you can see it on this side too. I'll give you a little angle of that in a second. But, you know, come out here and take that time with nature. And funny thing is, I live here in the Pacific Northwest, and in all honesty, it's not the easiest place for me. I am such a sun person, you know. I love the sun, I think, more than anybody I know. I could have sun on my face every day. Doesn't matter if it's cold and snowy or what, but I love me some sunshine. And out here we go, sometimes we go a month straight without seeing the sun. It peaked out a little bit today. That's partly why I chose today to go paddleboarding, but it pretty much stayed foggy, overcast today. But still beautiful. And what that does is when I'm in the middle of the winter and all of that, you know, I would be lying if I didn't say I get a little bit of that sadness, that sad seasonal affective disorder or whatever. But see, there's a lot more to that. You know, I'm just somebody who's a very sensitive person. I feel everything. If I go to a gathering, party, concert, anything like that, I notice much more than what's happening in my conversation. I notice what's happening in the corner over there. You know what I mean? I notice the person that's sitting there all alone. I notice maybe a couple having an argument. I might notice all sorts of things that are happening. And sometimes I'm sensitive to them. I'm also someone who's a very caring, compassionate, giving type of person. And so when I see those things, I want to help. And, you know, I'm not one to talk about labels or anything like that. But there's this thing called an empath. I'm sure we've all heard of it, right? I've never really looked too deep into all the details of what that is, and I'm sure people can argue, you know, what that is. So we'll just keep it as I'm sensitive, you know, and I pick up a lot of energy, and right now we're in this position where the whole world's feeling it. The whole world is feeling this global unrest. There's a lot of fear in the world today. A lot of what do you call that? Indecisiveness. What's the right decision? Should I go on that trip? Should I not go on that trip? Should I be still staying at home? Does my soul need to go out and be with people? You know, all of those things that are going on. And I would be surprised if I was the only one that is a part of watching this video here that feels like what they're feeling is much more than you know. And so when I talk about sensitivities, I'm talking about that. I'm talking about you know, all of the stuff that we're sensitive to, all of the stuff that we pick up on, all the stuff that causes us distress that goes way beyond just our little personal bubble, you know what I mean? And regardless of what that is, maybe it's more personal for some people, our sensitivities, just the idea that we're sensitive, that we get our feelings hurt sometimes. You know, we're putting ourselves out there, we're working hard at jobs or sort of exposing ourselves and sharing our gifts and doing all those things. And we leave ourselves raw and vulnerable. And sometimes, you know, people can take advantage of that. Sometimes we can leave ourselves open and be hurt, even if it's not on purpose. And, you know, me being this really empathic person and very sensitive, somewhere at a very young age, I learned to stuff that away because I developed an idea of what a man was. Not only a man, a tough Puerto Rican, you know, I had that. It was to me like this image of what is it to be me? What is it to be Puerto Rican? And then, you know, you watch TV, you see everything that's out there, and growing up in New York State, the only thing that I could see was what it was to be a Puerto Rican was to be a tough kid who wore a bandana, fight, and maybe carried a knife and robbed gas stations, because that was what the reflection of what I would see on TV and like different movies and different conversations. And you know, I grew up kind of, you know, like this idea that I was supposed to be tough and I wasn't supposed to feel hurt. You know, I wasn't supposed to be sensitive. I can take on anything. I'm tough, all this stuff, you know. And it's taken me, now I'm in my 40s, late 40s, and I'm still working on letting that go. I'm still working on honoring my sensitivities and actually admitting that I can't take on the world. You know what I mean? Because I still try sometimes. I still try, man. I overextend myself. I exhaust myself. And then sometimes I've caught myself getting resentful about maybe towards other people. But I could have said no thanks. That's not their fault. You know? I could have said no thanks. And but here I am. Giving, overextending, picking up on all sorts of things when I am in those positions where I volunteer my time. Oftentimes in the circles that I'm in, I am helping with trauma, helping with, you know, people that aren't as well off as me, which, you know, that with, well off meaning could be poverty, could be homelessness, it could be, you know, transition, it could be drug abuse, any of these things. And in those environments, oftentimes people aren't functioning from the highest level of health. And so here I am, almost trying to take on these problems. I'm going to take a turn so you can see this nice cool background behind me. And taking on other people's problems and stuff. And it's really, really a lot. You know, just talking about it, it's like, yeah, that's a lot. And so, you know, honoring my sensitivities. And when I honor that I'm a sensitive person, I have to admit to myself that, you know, I am vulnerable sometimes. I am weak sometimes. I'm brave. Yeah, I'm brave. But I, you know, maybe I'm not as resilient at being in certain environments as I want. You know? And you know, there's just a lot of things to being sensitive, and everybody's sensitive in their own ways. But how do we honor that? How as a man do I honor that? First thing I do is I admit it. First thing I do is say, oh man, you know, I'm weak in that area. I might not be the best person in a mental health crisis. I might not be the best person to work with a group of people, let's say children, and helping them through their anger or something like that, you know, and admitting that I'm just not the best in every area, and that's okay, and that's okay. Saying that, wow, I feel weak. Admitting that, wow, I struggle sometimes in the winter in Oregon. Well, that's okay. I'm a human being. It's okay that I struggle. So I think that's the first step. Second step is, as a sensitive person, setting boundaries. Woo-hoo! That has never been my gift. How do I set boundaries? I've realized that I've created an archetype inside of myself that says that it's like an archetype, like a superhero, like this idea of who I am or supposed to be, almost like a character, a superhero of some sort, and that I am supposed to be able to keep throwing myself in the trenches, keep putting myself out there, you know, doing all these things, and you know, and so learning to set boundaries and say no thanks. I can't take that phone call right now. It even comes up in my work, you know. I can't be available to every customer and just talk on the phone all the time. My business is too busy to be doing that anymore. I can't be, you know, spending time teaching other people how to make flutes, etc., etc. Like setting boundaries and saying, you know, it's okay to not be able to do it all. So there's that. And I mean, I could go on and on and on with that, but setting boundaries, the many, many ways we say that we learn to set boundaries. Learn to see what situation we're about to get into, you know, and if we, you know, make a mistake, you know, think about it and say, okay, next time I'm in that position, I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to ask more questions. I'm going to say, I may be available for that, but I don't want to commit all the way, you know, because that gives you time to think about it. To just say, let me take some time to pray about that. Let me take some time to think about that before someone asks you for something and you're all of a sudden, yeah, sure, in the trenches. Next thing you know, overbooked, double booked, canceling on other people. I do that kind of stuff. So learning to set boundaries, learning to take a minute to sit back and say, can I think about it and get back to you? That's the other thing. So lastly is, what am I doing here? Self-care, self-care. How do we take care of ourselves? Taking time to honor that with all of the things that I'm sensitive to in the world, you know, I really have to take care of myself. I really have to take care of myself. This is a time in life right now for a lot of people that there's a lot of stagnancy. We're just stuck in our woes. We're stuck in our, you know, our despair in a way. And people are forgetting to do what makes them feel good. Man, my fingers are numb right now. My toes are a little cold, but I'm out here taking care of my soul. I'm out here taking care of my soul. You know, being with nature, being in quiet, getting away from people. I've been doing a lot of qigong. So whatever your practice is, your prayer practice, your yoga practice, your exercise practice, do those things. Make time for it. It is so important. It is so important. Because with all these sensitivities that a lot of us have, we're over here And we're actually hurting ourselves. You know what I mean? Potentially, suffering from a lot of stress. That gives us health problems. Holding so tight to this feeling that, to try to protect yourself, to contain all of this stuff, this pain, this fear, this discomfort, just containing it. It has to be breathed out. It has to be let go. Those practices are of the utmost importance. Anything that has to do with breath, I highly recommend. Breath and movement, highly, highly recommend it. What else could I say? I think that's good. That's good. We're about 16 minutes into this conversation here. My battery is low power mode, and I just hope it's still recording me. But yeah, just take care of yourself. Make sure you're continuing to take the time out to care for yourself. Be in balance. We have so much power. We have so much control over our lives, over our reactions to things, and we have a lot of ability to a lot of ability to set those boundaries, to say no thank you to a lot of things that might just cause us more stress. And those things that we know that, hey, because it's family, because it's this reason or that reason, or just because I ended up in this position, we also have to have that internal balance, that awareness, that ability to be the observer that's watching all of the pieces of ourselves that function in different situations, and being able to be the puppet master or the conductor that says, oh, that giver really, really wants to give right now, but this part of me over here really knows that I need to do some self-preservation right now. And so to tend to those things, to create that balance, to be able to remove yourself from the immediate experience, look at the bigger picture, and make choices from a balanced place, from a place of peace, a place of connectedness, a place of awareness, a place of presence. Not worrying about the past, not worrying about the future, but the present. So I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed this little ride I took you on here. Very beautiful place. I'll do a little spin for you guys before I hang up so you can see just a little bit more. There's a lot of quiet spots to this lake. There's a waterfall coming up too. It's this beautiful bridge here, so it's a little noisy with traffic in this spot, but in general, it's a nice, quiet, calm place. Lots of bald eagles around here too. So beautiful. Just that beautiful bridge behind me. Anyway, have yourself a blessed day. Wish you peace, love, joy, and I'll talk to you soon. Lastly, I'll say, part of me doing self-care means that I haven't been doing Sunday spiritual talk every Sunday, because sometimes I feel like, oh, I gotta do something different. But I love to share with you when I can. I love hearing back from you guys. Subscribe if you haven't, if you like what we do here at Singing Tree Flutes. And yeah. I love being on this healing journey with y'all. Okay, take care.